What started as a very close-knit group of friends, learning football, has now, turned into this big thing where over like 10,000 women who are a part of this community.
Yeah.
How was that journey? How did it start? I want to know from you.
When we came together and made those football sessions happen, what came out of it was, like I said, the stories. The women coming to us afterwards and saying that, hey, you have no idea what difference this is making in my personal life, or that my son looks at me differently. The thing about sport especially is that the moment a woman enters a sports field, already she has broken so many barriers, so many personal barriers, inner barriers, and so connecting at that level with another woman just becomes easier, and it's a lot deeper. And so I can understand a lot of people making friendships through Sisters in Sweat as well.
Hello everyone and welcome to Brew and Banter. As you all can clearly see, we are not in our regular studio setup today, and we are at Wings Arena in Bandra. There's a football ground right behind me, and the reason I chose this setup was to stay very true to the authenticity of what the theme of this podcast is going to be. Because we have one of the co-founders of Sisters in Sweat on today's podcast. So, Sisters in Sweat. Sisters in Sweat is India's largest sports and wellness community exclusively for women that was co-founded by two women, Tanvi and Shweta. And today we have one of their co-founders on the podcast to share their story and journey. Because there's really something about women-led businesses and women-led business models. And for the fact that it's in the sports arena means so much more. And I'm really excited to have her on today to share her story and her journey of how they started from a close-knit group to now over 10,000 women who are a part of their community. Hello Tanvi and welcome to Brew and Banter. Thank you so much for coming. Very short notice, but we sort of managed to make this work.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. I know that it's a short trip of mine, but yeah, I'm glad that we squeezed this in.
Yeah, and it's a really cool setup, very true to the theme of the podcast. So I want to take you to the very beginning of when this idea of Sisters in Sweat, I think, kind of popped up.
Yeah.
I saw in one of your videos that you and your co-founder Shweta all were at a party, and one of your friends asked you to take a football session for her.
Yeah.
And what started as a very close-knit group of friends, learning football, has now, turned into this big thing where over like 10,000 women who are a part of this community.
Yeah.
How was that journey? How did it start? I want to know from you.
Okay, so to be very honest, Shweta and I actually met Shweta through Nike. We did a Nike campaign together in 2016. But we actually didn't meet each other while shooting it. We met each other in the interview process that happened afterwards. And she's a Bangalore girl. I'm a Delhi girl.
Okay.
And I basically was moving to Bangalore early 2017. And since we had connected, through this medium, I actually messaged her on Instagram after our interview and stuff. So she kind of, like, her and I, we hit it off. And then in 2017, when I moved to Bangalore, she kind of became like my main friend. And of course, I moved to Bangalore because the football scene, so I'm a footballer.
Yeah.
And the football scene for me at that time, I felt was better in Bangalore than it was in Delhi. So I made the move. Also, my mum is from Bangalore, so I have some amount of family, and the city is familiar. But Shweta was kind of like my friend. And when I moved in 2017, I was doing my thing with football. She was doing her personal training and all of that. But at the end of 2017, November, she kind of forced me out to this party, because I don't party much. I don't go out to all these like social affairs and stuff much. But somehow she convinced me this one particular night, and I guess it was meant to be. She introduced me to a friend of hers. Her name is Shonali. And Shonali, if you ever sort of cross paths with her, you'll never forget this character. She's very like bubbly, outspoken, friendly, and always very excitable. So when Shweta introduced me to Shonali as a footballer, obviously Shonali got super excited and she said, "Oh my God, that's so cool." why don't you teach me and a few of my girlfriends how to play? And so Shweta and I, we didn't know whether to take her seriously or not because Shonali had a few drinks by then. But, you know, just for the fun of it, that weekend, we booked a small ground, a small five-a-side turf. And yeah, and honestly, we expected maybe 3-4 women to turn up. It'd be a fun one-time experience and done and dusted. But the thing is that Shweta and I very mindfully had designed this 90-minute session, keeping in mind that, you know, Shonali was about 35 years old at the time, which meant her and her friend circle would be around the same age. So we had to keep in mind that these were slightly older women, either returning to sport after very long or haven't played football before. So the session had to be designed more for them to have fun, you know, enjoy the sport. And yes, if they sort of get a good workout out of it, fantastic. So we designed the 90-minute session very mindfully. Shweta sort of for the first half hour, being the personal trainer, being the, you know, fitness coach, she designed the warm-up in such a way that their bodies became ready for a little bit of sport movement. And then I made them do some football-related fun drills. And then we ended with a small five-a-side game and then cool down. And we had music playing on in the background and stuff like that. Again, all very intentional. We wanted them to have a good Sunday morning, that's all. And the ladies loved that first experience of theirs. They came to us and said, do this for us every weekend. And that's kind of what we did. It was a passion project we did over the weekends. We had our other work happening through the week. But yeah, about a year and a half in of doing just these weekend football sessions, we recognized that the community had grown organically to like, you know, a few hundred women, about 300, 400 at the time, if not more. And that's kind of when we sat down and we just said that, listen, there's a lot of potential here, right? There's also nobody else that's doing this. If there's anybody who can sort of bridge this gap and sort of start it, it makes sense that we do it because we come from the industry. We're both women. We've also, you know, we understand the gaps. And let's just say the kind of resistance that we faced and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it was about, then we coined ourselves like the Sisters in Sweat. We actually on the WhatsApp group, we had asked like give us some names and then someone said Sisters in Sweat and it just everyone just voted like it's a fantastic name. And we recognized that what we were doing essentially was of course providing sport to women who hadn't played in many years, and beyond that it was so intangible what it was, right? Because they would come up to us because we try and go for breakfast afterwards and stuff like that. We still do that because it is a community at the end of the day. And that's what we actually recognized, that what we were actually providing was intangible in nature through sport, right? Sport was our tool at the time. But then we tried to expand our model beyond sport. Now, of course, we have multiple sports, but we also have social events. You know, we do karaoke nights, we do wine tasting, pizza making, all that stuff. We do off-site trips. All with the intention that, you know, women have a safe space to connect with each other, to be active, to be social. And yeah, everything that we sort of decide to do is done with a lot of intention and very mindfully. But as of today, we're in 4 cities, hoping to be in a 5th city by the end of this year. We're looking at Chennai next. But yeah, as of today, Bangalore was our start, then Mumbai, then Delhi, and most recently Hyderabad, which has been fantastic. It's been a fantastic city for us so far. And we're hoping for Chennai by the end of this year.
That's lovely. And as you said that, you know, this is a community, right? It's not just any other business, it's a community. And I have done a few sessions with the Sisters in Sweat. I've done pickleball. And you know what I've realized is that, and I'm not saying it just for the camera, but genuinely that it was just very easy. Like the process was easy. And I know my cousin Isha, who actually is very regular with football, and some of her closest friends are from her sessions learned. And she hangs with them. And I feel like that is kind of the main thing about Sisters in Sweat. It's more than just sports, right? It's so much more. It's about building relationships. So do you think that's kind of the main ethos behind the brand?
So definitely. So, you know, Shweta is obviously trained in fitness, and she's a fitness coach and a performance coach. And I've been a footballer for majority of my life. And that's kind of where our skill set lies. When we sort of we came together and made those football sessions happen, what came out of it was, like I said, the stories. You know, the women coming to us afterwards and saying that, hey, you know, you have no idea what difference this is making in my personal life.
Yeah.
Or that my son looks at me differently. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's so wholesome. That goes beyond sport. That goes beyond just a social event. You know, it is a lot deeper than that. Which is why when we talk about Sisters in Sweat, we always say that it's a women's community, right? The thing about sport especially is that the moment a woman enters a sports field, already she has broken so many barriers, so many personal barriers, inner barriers. And so connecting at that level with another woman just becomes easier, and it's a lot deeper. And so I can understand a lot of people making friendships through Sisters in Sweat as well. And I do think that given now that we have, you know, over 10,000 women as members across the country, they're all part of SIS for different reasons though.
Yeah.
For some people it might be, hey, I want to try a new sport. For some people it might be, hey, I'm new to the city, I want to make some girlfriends. For some it might be, I want to hit my fitness goal, and I think this is a fun way to do it. So it's different for different people, what sort of attracts them to SIS. But at the end of the day, we just want to give access to women, to a network, to just, let's just say, a sporting, fun-loving community. Yeah.
Right. So since you've always been a footballer yourself, right, and you're primarily bringing women in the sports arena, and that does come with stereotypes, as you said, and now we still have more women in sports, probably a little more coverage, but maybe back in the day it wasn't much like that. You know, maybe when you were a child you wouldn't really see too many of these idols on the newspaper, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that you face any kind of challenges because of that in the sports sort of field when you were pursuing football?
When I was pursuing,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I think, see, I think it's always easier to envision yourself achieving something when you have a face to it, or you have someone representing it, right? But I didn't have that growing up. So when I started, it was a very few bunch of girls in Delhi that played, and we all knew each other. The pool was so small. But I think I was fortunate because my school at the time, Vasant Valley, they formed the first girls football team in the city. And I just got lucky being there at the right time, and then that's how I got started. But yes, if we ever opened the newspaper and stuff, there was no female footballer for me to look up to. Nor is football really covered that much, even in the men's space in India, right? So for me, in 2002, when I was just starting like taking football seriously, the movie Bennett Like Beckham came out.
Okay, yeah.
So for me now, I'm also Punjabi. Jess is also, you know, Punjabi. She's a Sikh. So yeah, I kind of related to the character, and that is kind of what opened my mind up to, okay, there's a world of football out there for girls, and I don't know what my next step is going to be, what my direction is going to be, but wherever I get the chance to play, I will try and play. So at times I will play with boys, you know, and I still do. I mean, I think it's still fun, and now we have mixed gender sessions at Sisters in Sweat as well. But yeah, I mean, to answer the question very, very briefly, yes, there was no role model as such. And I think that for me, creating impact in this space was important always since especially since I'd been through it. But never had I envisioned that so much of that can be solved in your own home, right? If you have your own mom lacing up on a Sunday morning to go play football or go play basketball, you're growing up in a different reality, right? You know, or let's just say that your possibilities have expanded so much in your mind, right? If my mom can do this, I can do it too, you know? And that's, you can have your role model in your own home. I think that's the thing that I've learned through Sisters in Sweat as well. Yeah.
So when you were playing football primarily, you know, Sisters in Sweat was not in existence, did you somewhere at the back of your mind have any thought that you could possibly create or have a business in the future?
No. So Shweta and I never sat down, and this was not some dream that we had that we put down and that it made economical sense or anything like that. In fact, you see how it came about from actually a drunk friend's idea, right? So it was organic. It was it wasn't something that we ever did as a business. We did it as a passion project, and I think eventually we needed to grow our team because there's only so much that Shweta and I can spread ourselves, and so much skill set that the both of us have. We have to go beyond that. And we wanted to offer what we do to more women, which meant the team had to grow.
Yeah.
And if the team had to grow, it had to make some amount of sense financially.
Okay.
And I think we did start obviously trying to put a slightly more economical model together. And yeah, I think today what it is not something we envisioned. And to be very honest, what it's going to be in 5 years also, we have no idea. But the best thing I think in which Shweta and I are approaching this is what we're doing actually has no limits. It has no boundaries. Who we collaborate with, what direction we go in, what we offer to the women next is really, really up to us and up to all the sort of, elements and people that come to us with ideas. And we're very open to any conversation. So it can take any shape in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. So the only thing else is the ones that we want is just to be more accessible to more women across the country. Yeah.
Okay. So as you said, it was, a passion project, no like real business idea in mind. But when was that point you all realized, okay, this is going somewhere and that we should probably have a certain fee that we're charging, or, when was it that you all realized that this is a proper financial project now and it's going to be profitable for you all?
So there was, I think, about 1.5 2 years into us doing just those weekend football sessions in Bangalore. Creators League had approached us.
Okay.
They're sort of like an IP that does football leagues and football tournaments. So they approached us and told us that we're the largest women's community that plays football in the country at the time.
Okay.
So they wanted to host like a tournament for us. And they did a fantastic job. There was proper like auctions, player auctions, and it was very well done. There was proper kits for all the players with their names and jerseys. There was awards, and it was just they did a thorough job, professional job. And I think the women loved it because you can imagine for some of them they're entering sport for the first time in their lives or are re-entering it after many years, and here they are sort of donning a team kit and winning awards and like being auctioned as a player. It's like fantastic, right? At that point, after the success of that event and the kind of let's just say feedback we got from our members about the experience, that's when Shweta and I recognized that, look, if somebody like a Creators League is recognizing potential in us, I think we need to recognize it as well. And I think that was kind of the pivotal point for us. And we were like, okay, this can be something. Of course, we will never negate the impact they want to create through it. But if we want to grow, it does need to make some amount of economical sense. And let's really start building a model around that.
Yeah. And today, you all are where you all are, and have also partnered up with Nike recently, right? I mean, that's huge for any business, and especially something related to sports. I mean, Nike, whenever you think of sports, Nike is a brand that really comes to your mind. How was that experience like? How did that partnership and collaboration come across? And how has that changed things for you, and will change things for you going ahead?
Okay, so the deal with Nike is honestly, first of all, Nike is a huge brand. Okay, the moment anything is attached to Nike, it's quality. Right? And we obviously always hope that SIS becomes that as well, or people see it as a quality sort of product as well. Like I said, Shweta and I met through Nike at a campaign in 2016. So for us to now sign the papers with them and partner with them is like it really is like a full circle moment for us. And I think for about 4 years now or 5 years now, so Shweta continued being associated with the brand as a fitness coach.
Okay.
And so every time she got the chance, she did try and sort of pitch SIS to Nike and sort of, had their support in any capacity. We didn't know what that would be, but to just sort of make them aware of this community and that what our intentions are and where we can sort of work with them. So it's been many years in the making that we finally reached this point where we've actually partnered with them, and the papers have been signed, and it's official and it's public. But yeah, it's been a conversation that's been sort of long drawn out. And of course, it elevates, our brand value a lot.
Of course, yeah.
And the idea is for the community to benefit from this relationship in many, many ways. Nike, of course, has a huge platform, and our association with them means that more people are going to become aware of Sisters in Sweat, right? And also put us in a certain category in terms of the quality of work that we do, the intent behind what we do. And yeah, even today at the tournament, the winners are getting Nike products, and they're like fancy Nike products. They don't like small stuff. So yeah, it's little stuff like that. We've just started the relationship. It's a 3-year relationship minimum. But let's see, we ourselves don't know what this relationship is going to evolve into. But I like the fact that Nike's been so open to this. And yeah, I think that the idea is for the community to benefit out of it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But while there's this, the good side of it, I'm sure there must be challenges that you all might face as co-founders, and there might also be certain gaps that are there, right, in this market. What do you think was the biggest challenge for you, or continues to be a big challenge for you when it comes to business model in this sort of arena?
There are a few challenges. I think when we started off, we actually wanted female coaches because Shweta and I were female, and it's not a women's community. Also, the relatability for a member with a female coach, or even the aspirational aspect of a female coach, is something we wanted to deliver across all of our sports, across all cities and everything. That's been a bit of a challenge.
Okay.
And we didn't want to necessarily stop our growth because of it. So we allowed ourselves to be open to male coaches at some point.
Okay.
In fact, we have one female and one male coach here in Mumbai. And we have a few male coaches now across the country. But I think that's an observation that we had, that finding female coaches, especially of the caliber that we're looking at SIS, is not easy. That's number one, but it shouldn't stop us, because there are male coaches that can step in as well. One of the other things is that getting facilities, because infrastructure, especially in a city like Bombay, is a bit of a problem. Just imagine the number of people that we have in our country, how many play sport, and how many facilities we actually have that can be rented. It's very few. And in fact, it's the same facilities that some professional clubs and stuff also sort of rent, right? And they rent long term. So for us to sort of get facilities at, let's say, reasonable hours for ourselves, at a decent rate is difficult.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like venues do come on board and understand our sort of purpose, and then they might give us some kind of a discount. But yeah, I think infrastructure is a big one. Of course, finding the right coaches, because that's not something we ever want to compromise on. The experience that you feel in a Mumbai session that might be coached by Amir or Priyanka should feel the same as if you're coached with me in Bangalore or with another coach in Delhi. You should all have a similar sort of intangible feeling you're left with. And that's not easy.
Correct.
And sometimes the process of getting the right person, the right coach, takes time.
Okay.
And therefore delays the growth a little bit. But it's not something you want to compromise on. So finding the right manpower in terms of coaches, even in terms of our Sisters in Sweat team, the management team, again, it's hard. It is hard because we are a startup at the end of the day, and whoever we get on board, we believe a lot in, energy, and what they add to the team needs to align with what our purpose is. They can come with their own skill sets and creativity, and it's all open at the table. Please bring your ideas. We will expand in any direction if it makes sense. And it doesn't matter how junior, senior, we don't have that concept in our organization. It's quite a flat system.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like manpower is a big one for us, finding the right community head in every city. And coaches, infrastructure, all of it. It is a little bit challenging. But I assume that anyone in this space would face all of this. The only additional, I feel, challenge that Sisters in Sweat faces over and above is that we focus mostly on women,
Okay. Yeah.
which has its own additional sort of elements to be mindful of, like something like, does the facility have a clean washroom, right? It may not be something that every sort of club or every organization thinks of, but we have to, because we're a women-led organization, right? We're for women. And while men can maybe change their jerseys after playing right here, the women need to go inside, they need to feel comfortable and all of that. So little things like that, because it matters to us end to end. Those are where sort of the challenges lie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how important is it for you to make it economical for women, have the price sort of put in a way that it is more accessible and economical for them also to come in and play almost every week?
It's very important. I think we've tried to the best of our ability, reach or kind of find a perfect balance between being accessible enough to women and at the same time it making like sustainable sense to us, right? Because we have the rent to pay, we have coaches to pay, we have a team that works behind the scenes. So there is all of that to keep in mind, and we've tried to find we tweak it now and then. Still, we give ourselves the flexibility to do that, to tweak the price, but we found, I feel like, this window where it's not too expensive, but at the same time it makes enough sense to us so we can cover costs at the bare minimum.
Okay.
However, I think we reserve the right to, if let's say a session that's running on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, if on one particular week, because of the rains or because of travel season, the numbers are low for that session, we will cut the session, we'll cancel it, and then we'll try and save on that cost.
Okay.
So little things like that we reserve the right to do, but we have a certain number of hours before the session where we inform all the stakeholders, the venue, the members, that hey, it's cancelled because numbers look low today. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah.
And as a woman in business, as a woman entrepreneur, I'm sure there might be certain challenges or the pressure to maybe constantly prove yourself, because no matter what we say, the world is evolving for sure and women are coming and having their own startups, but it's still kind of male dominated. Do you have that additional pressure that you feel being a woman in business and also something that is related to sports?
So I'll speak from my point of view. I'm not sure what Shweta's experience of it is. I feel it might be similar, but I think we've actually got a lot of encouragement.
Okay.
We have received a lot of encouragement, again, because there's nobody else doing what we're doing. And at the same time, I think the way that our country is moving in the direction of sport, I think female athletes or the female space is being recognized more and more and more. And a lot of the organizations that are working, I think they feel like the female participation is low, and therefore something like an SIS, can support. And that's where the encouragement comes from, because we are two women that are leading this organization, so we've been able to identify the gap. We also have mostly women within our organization as well, behind the scenes. From my point of view, I feel like it's mostly been encouragement. Yeah,
That's lovely.
yeah. I think that also trickles down perhaps from my own parents, because I probably wouldn't have pursued football if it wasn't for the support I saw from them. And I think been fortunate to mostly see encouragement through the journey, whether it be football or Sisters in Sweat or whatever. I mostly seen encouragement.
That's amazing. But a lot of women that might be coming out here playing multiple sports, I believe that going out there, playing a sport, exercising, it really helps with mental health as well. It helps release stress and anxiety. A lot of them might be having their own personal issues, but maybe spending that 1 hour here can really help them a lot. Has any woman or people, have they come and share any of their experiences that SIS has really helped them overcome?
Definitely. I think, you can imagine that since we started, now we're going to complete 8 years, November of this
Wow.
year. So it'll be 8 years since we had that very first session. Those were years of commitment towards something that is high on impact and also high on personal touch, on human touch. You have to be emotionally very invested. And obviously that does, and physically very invested as well, because at the end of the day, we do provide a lot of physical sports and services and stuff like that. So there are days when, of course, we're tired, the whole team, we do get drained and we do need a reset and things like that. And for me personally, it's those anecdotes that are my reset. That's like, okay, it's also worth it. And I think the beautiful thing is that women are expressive beings. We feel a lot. A lot of us don't have a problem expressing it also. So it's at the breakfast afterwards, or like the coffees and things like that we do, or the community events where they are so comfortable to come and tell you that, hey, this has been so like amazing for me. It's like a safe space for me, or I found my me time, away from my other responsibilities. This is it, and we've had so many women come up to us, and like I said, for me personally, that's the reset. That if I reach a point of, oh my God, I'm exhausted, but then I hear that and I'm like, okay, it's worth it. It's worth it. Let's go. It's energy giving, So yeah, I think women tend to sort of to share, and it's beautiful. I think very grateful for every time any of the members have come up to us and thanked us for any of it, because we actually owe it to them for coming out, waking up on a Sunday morning to go and make this possible.
That's lovely, yeah. And when it comes to you and Shweta, both of you all, I'm sure you all have divided the responsibilities for who handles what, right?
Yeah.
And actually, doing all of this across 4 cities might be a lot. It might be hectic, or might need a proper team that kind of is able to manage all of this.
Yeah.
So how have we all kind of divided the responsibilities so that it all happens smoothly?
So, very fortunate that obviously outside of fitness and me football, our skill set outside of that, very different in complementing of each other. It just worked out that way, because once we started to grow, I'm creative, very inherently creative.
Okay.
So I started making all the posters and stuff like that. Initially, I started the Instagram account, or started making Instagram account more active, putting content out there. So I always very naturally gravitated towards the creative side of stuff. And obviously sports was totally my baby. And then Shweta was always very much better than me, let's just say, with the paperwork.
Okay.
Also with the macro vision. I'm very detail oriented. So for me, it's always like perfection at the micro level.
Yeah.
And then she had a macro vision. So I think we just ended up complementing each other so well, without stepping on each other's toes, because our interests and skill sets were only so different. And so I took up the creative stuff and looking after essentially operations and sports. She's looking after the macro, let's just say the brand associations and the paperwork, the dry stuff that I don't like. She does that.
Yeah.
That happened naturally.
That's nice. We're dividing the responsibilities very well then, kind of complementing each other.
Yeah, but it happened naturally. We didn't even sit down at any point and say that this is mine. It's just like, this is what I enjoy, okay, and it just happened. Yeah.
And, since you all found a gap in the market and, sort of built a business around it, which is so unique and different, there isn't really much like that, elsewhere. What was the biggest learning for you in this journey? What's something that you've learned that you'll always keep with you?
Everything has been a learning, because there is no blueprint of what we're doing. There is nothing out there. Maybe we can take inspiration from certain organizations out there in the way that they think or the way that they do a particular aspect of their work. But there was no blueprint. What we're doing, I don't think anyone else has been doing. So we couldn't even sort of follow the footsteps of anybody. We're kind of learning along the way and taking the best of what we are sort of surrounded with. And I think what Shweta and I have done well in this process is having an open mind and also understanding very early on that we there's only so much knowledge and skill set that the both of us have, and for us to grow we need to partner and find good people within our organization and partner with people outside that can help us grow this vision with their own expertise, with their own skill sets and their own network and their own experiences. So I think that openness for us has been great, because we've constantly been learning along the way as well. So yeah, I think the whole thing has been just an education in a way.
Yeah. And also, Rain Matter by Zerodha has invested in Sisters in Sweat, right? That experience again might have been lovely. Meeting Nitin Kamath, the experience with him. I'm sure he must have shared a lot with y'all. Was there a personal or professional advice that he gave y'all that has kind of stuck with you?
So my interaction with him has been only a couple of times. I think Shweta spent more time with them.
Okay.
There's also a boot camp that they did recently, which I couldn't go for. But yeah, I think she's interacted more, so she might be able to give more anecdotes around this. But for me, I think being in those kind of rooms where, you know, the conversation about investments and let's just say our plan for the next 2-3 years, all of that is again a whole new space for me. It's not something, see, I'm an athlete, I've been an athlete for most of my life. So to be in rooms where we're discussing and presenting investments and things like that, and the, you know, the vision and coming together of these two, you know, let's just say purposes of sort, was new. And I think I've always, like I said, tried to be a sponge, especially in spaces that are new to me.
Yeah.
And I think whenever he's been there or his team has been there in the room, there's always been something valuable that I've walked away with. Sometimes I actually have a pad with me and I make down notes.
Okay.
Like, okay, there's something specific that they said that I really liked,
Yeah.
and I want to imbibe that in my way of working now with my team. So yeah, I kind of try and absorb whatever I can. And of course, it was, I think, really, really gratifying when this sort of came through for us.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's also, you know, an organization that selects their partners very mindfully with research, with they sort of go for the niche, right? And if we came into that sort of catalog and that category, it's a huge compliment to us. So I think, yeah, I think that whole sort of process has been rewarding. And they're also wonderful people to work with. They know that at the end of the day, we're kind of the experts. We've been doing this for long enough. So there's no interference in the way we want to do stuff. But of course, there are certain sort of impact targets that they want us to hit, which we completely align on. But very easy to work with, very open-minded. They love what we do. And it's never felt like we have to prove ourselves. It's always just been like, you know, they get us and they've invested in us. And, you know, and yeah, it's just, it's just been easy.
So you started with football and now it's scaled to many different sports, right? You all have badminton, pickleball and a lot of other sports as well. Now, what is your future vision for SIS going forward? Where do you see this going? Like say 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, where do you want it to go?
So like I said, I think if you asked us this question, let's say 5 years ago, when we had already been doing this for 3 years at the time, I don't think I'd be able to tell you that we would have partnered with Nike or with, you know, Zerodha. There's no way for us to sort of have known that. And that's exactly where I am even today, which is I know that this has so much potential. It can go in any direction. It could look so different 5 years from now. The one thing that I'm very sure of that we want to achieve from all of this is honestly just give access to as many women as possible. So if today we're sitting at, let's say, 12,000 women across the country, I hope that number is like 10, 12 times that, right? A few years down the line. And that's kind of all I can say is a sure thing from us, then we want to move in that direction. what that looks like, I can't say exactly. Just obviously we'll continue the basic model of Sprout and social activities and offsite trips and stuff. But how much beyond that the model will grow, there really is, sky's the limit. Yeah.
And, as we're kind of nearing the end of this podcast, first of all, it was a lovely conversation. But if there's one advice that you would like to give women entrepreneurs, one new to this journey, who are starting out their own businesses, what is one advice or learning you would like to give to them?
I think two things. Firstly, be open-minded. Understand that you have the vision and the intent and the purpose. And in order to achieve its potential, you can't do it alone. You only have a certain amount of education and skill set. Be open-minded in that look to build your team or look for collaborations with people that can sort of complement you in the skill set that you have and align on the vision that you have. So be open, I think, number one. Number two is that if you can do it with somebody, to be very honest at this point, I'm very grateful that I have a partner, right? Because especially when you have something like a Sisters in Sweat that can grow so much, for you to be the only person who's founded it, it is a lot of pressure to take. I think even as a co-founder, there's a lot of pressure that, or let's just say there's a lot of expectations. You have to set the standard for the team. You have to, come up with solutions and things like that. So I do think that if you can find a partner, if you can find a co-founder that complements again your skill set, see if you can make that happen, that aligns on your vision. And yeah, be open to the fact that you might make mistakes. Try and make those mistakes also calculated mistakes though. I think if you don't sort of experiment a little bit, you won't know what will work, what won't work, especially in this day and age. So yeah, I think just be open-minded, and if you can find a team or a partner that can be on board with your vision, try and find yourself a co-founder, team like that. Yeah.
And do you think looking back you could have done something differently, or you don't have any regrets, nothing like that?
I've never had regrets in my life, even with football, even personally, even with Sisters in Sweat. I actually don't believe in mistakes. I don't believe that things happen accidentally. I believe that there's always something that that there is to learn from it. So I don't believe in mistakes, so therefore I don't have any regrets. Yeah.
That was lovely. It was lovely chatting with you. I learned so much about, women in business, and your model is so different. I'm sure that the audience watching will learn a lot from you. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for also setting up in an unusual spot. But I hope that it's visually appealing. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.